the Iroc-Z was beaten. The TPI V8 lost to the Fox Body 5.0, and Ford embarrassed General Motors. So in 1996, they made a phone call to Quebec and said, "Build us revenge." This is the story of how GM answered Ford's Mustang Cobra with the first Camaro SS in 24 years. Same horsepower on paper, different results on the street, and one car that lied about everything. Let me paint you a picture. It's 1996. The muscle car wars have been dead for 20 years. Detroit's been building weak, emissions-strangled disappointment since the oil crisis. But something's changing. Ford drops the Mustang Cobra SVT, 305 horsepower from an all-new, high-tech dual overhead cam, hand-assembled modular V8. It's sophisticated, it's modern, it's expensive, and it's fast. Chevrolet's response? Call SLP Engineering in LaSalle, Quebec, and resurrect a badge that hadn't been seen since 1972. The true, factory-backed high-performance Camaro SS was back, and it had a score to settle. Both cars claimed 305 horsepower. Both cost around $24,500. Both were built to prove their brand still knew how to make an American performance car. But only one was telling the truth about its power. And only one actually won the fight. To understand this battle, you need to understand the humiliation General Motors endured in 1989. The Camaro Iroc-Z, with its fancy digital dashboard, its high-tech tuned port injection that looked advanced on paper, and its overhyped performance image, got absolutely destroyed by the Ford Mustang 5.0. The Fox Body, with 225 horsepower and a carburetor that GM engineers mocked as ancient technology, ran circles around the Iroc-Z. It was faster, it was cheaper, and worst of all, it was everywhere. Ford sold them by the tens of thousands, while Chevy's flagship performance Camaro became a punchline. GM's answer? Kill the Iroc-Z nameplate after 1990. No more performance Camaros, no SS package, no redemption. Just silence and shame for 6 years, while Ford kept selling Mustang GTs and Cobras. But in 1995, GM made a decision. If they couldn't beat Ford with factory engineering, they'd partner with the aftermarket specialists who actually knew how to build fast Camaros. Enter SLP Engineering. This wasn't desperation. This was strategy. SLP, Street Legal Performance, had been modifying F-bodies since the 1980s. They knew the LT1 V8. They knew the chassis. And most importantly, they knew how to make GM's lawyers happy while building cars that could actually embarrass Mustangs. Here's how it worked. GM built the base Camaro Z28 at their Saint-Thérèse plant in Quebec. Then, instead of shipping it to dealers, they sent it 30 miles south to SLP's facility in LaSalle. There, SLP installed the Ram air hood scoop, the custom exhaust, the limited slip differential, upgraded suspension, and bigger brakes. Only then did it go to Chevrolet dealers as a factory-backed, warranted Camaro SS. But the SS package wasn't just about bolting on parts and calling it a day. SLP offered a level of customization that made each SS feel less like a mass-produced Chevrolet and more like a boutique muscle car built by specialists who actually cared. The signature feature? The two on the left dual exhaust system, both pipes exiting on the driver's side of the car. It wasn't just for show. The asymmetric design reduced exhaust back pressure and gave the LT1 a distinctive, aggressive sound that announced the SS before you ever saw the badge. Walk into any Cars and Coffee in 1996, you could hear an SS coming 3 blocks away. SLP also filled each SS with synthetic oil from the factory, a detail most manufacturers wouldn't bother with on a $24,000 car. The suspension? Bilstein Level 2 shocks and struts, performance-tuned specifically for the SS's mission of combining straight-line brutality with road course capability. This wasn't a parts bin special. This was engineered revenge. 30 miles from the factory, by people who knew what enthusiasts actually wanted. This wasn't some dealer-installed option package you could negotiate down. This was a $7,243 mandatory package, pre-modified before the car ever touched a showroom floor. GM wanted revenge, and they were willing to pay SLP to build it. The heart of the SS was the LT1 5.7-liter pushrod V8. On paper, 305 horsepower. In reality? Well, that's where things get interesting. GM has a long, proud tradition of underrating horsepower to protect the Corvette. The 1970 Chevelle LS6 claimed 450 horsepower. Period testing suggested it made closer to 500. The 1987 Buick GNX claimed 276. Magazine dyno tests showed over 300. And the 1996 Camaro SS, 305 rated. But period dyno testing and multiple automotive publications consistently suggested it was making somewhere between 320 and 330 real horsepower at the flywheel. Why underrate? Because in 1996, the base Corvette LT1 made 300 horsepower. If GM admitted the Camaro SS made 330, suddenly the $50,000 Corvette looked really stupid compared to the $24,500 Camaro. So they underrated. Accountants, 1. Enthusiasts, 0. Meanwhile, across the aisle in Dearborn, Ford was building something completely different. The 1996 Mustang Cobra SVT represented Ford's bet on the future. Out went the legendary 5.0 pushrod V8 that had powered Mustangs since 1979. In came the all-new 4.6-liter modular motor, aluminum block, dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, and a level of sophistication Detroit muscle cars had never seen. Each Cobra engine was hand-assembled by a 2-person team at Ford's Romeo engine plant in Michigan. They signed their names on a plaque attached to the valve covers, built by names, like it was a piece of art. Which, compared to the mass-produced LT1, it kind of was. But here's what made the Romeo engine truly special. Unlike the Camaro's cast-iron pushrod motor, the Cobra's 4.6 was an all-aluminum DOHC design with a forged steel crankshaft in the manual transmission cars. That crank represented a level of manufacturing cost and durability that many pushrod engines simply didn't require. But it could handle power levels the standard modular motor would never see. Ford was building for the future, even if enthusiasts in 1996 didn't understand it yet. The dual overhead cam cylinder heads were so large, with their 4 valves per cylinder and complex cam drive systems, that Ford had to create a special domed hood for the Cobra just to clear them. Form followed function. That bulge in the hood wasn't a styling exercise. It was engineering necessity. The Cobra looked different because it was built different. Meanwhile, the Camaro's LT1 had its own engineering quirks. The OptiSpark ignition system, loved by nobody, feared by everyone who had to replace it, was mounted low in the engine bay, where heat and moisture could destroy it. When it worked, the LT1 was efficient and powerful. When the OptiSpark failed, you were looking at a $1,000 repair bill and a tow truck. Old school power with new school headaches. The Cobra made 305 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 300 pound-feet of torque at 4,800 RPM. And unlike GM, Ford was far more conservative and consistent with its ratings. That 305 was honest, dyno verified, no protection racket for the Corvette. Just a sophisticated high-revving V8 that represented everything the muscle car world was evolving toward. The Cobra also got the brand new Borg-Warner T45 transmission, and here's where Ford got serious. This wasn't the old T5 from the 5.0 Mustangs. The T45 was the first Borg-Warner transmission with an integrated bell housing, designed specifically for the modular 4.6-liter engine. Ford didn't just drop a new motor in an old car. They redesigned the entire drivetrain. So when the magazines got their hands on both cars in late 1995 and early 1996, the results told a very interesting story. The Camaro SS ran 0 to 60 in 5.1 to 5.3 seconds. The quarter mile? 13.7 seconds at 102 miles per hour. Brutal, old school, tire-shredding American muscle. The Mustang Cobra? 5.4 to 5.6 seconds to 60. Quarter mile in 14.0 seconds at 102 miles per hour. Smooth, refined, sophisticated, and 0.3 of a second slower. But the performance story doesn't end at the quarter mile. In period testing, automotive journalists described the Camaro SS as a sledgehammer. Devastating in a straight line, brutal on launch, but less refined when the road started turning. The Cobra? Described as the more balanced, composed car, thanks to its aluminum block giving it better weight distribution and more neutral handling characteristics. In period testing by outlets like Road and Track, 0 to 100 to 0 results showed the Camaro SS proved it wasn't just fast in a straight line. Braking performance demonstrated SLP's suspension, and brake upgrades were legitimate. The SS could go, and it could stop, with authority. Wait, both cars make 305 horsepower. So why is the Camaro faster? Two reasons. First, the Camaro's LT1 made approximately 25 to 35 more pound-feet of torque than the Cobra's modular motor, approximately 325 to 335 pound-feet, depending on test conditions and drivetrain losses, versus 300. That low-end grunt matters when you're launching off the line. Second, and more importantly, the Camaro wasn't actually making 305 horsepower. Period dyno testing consistently suggested it was making closer to 320 to 330, which explains why it ran 0.3 quicker despite the Mustang's lighter curb weight and more sophisticated transmission. GM got their revenge. The SS was faster. The numbers proved it. Motor Trend and Car and Driver both documented it. After 6 years of humiliation, Chevrolet finally had a Camaro that could beat the Mustang in a straight line. But here's the twist nobody expected. Ford didn't care. See, while the Camaro SS was limited production, built in the low thousands through select dealers, Ford built 10,006 Mustang Cobras in 1996 alone, 7,496 coupes, 2,510 convertibles. They were everywhere. The Cobra wasn't built to win drag races by 0.3 of a second. It was built to be a sophisticated, refined, daily drivable performance car capable of embarrassing contemporary European sports sedans on a road course while looking good in a parking lot. And at that, it succeeded. The Camaro SS? It was built for one reason: revenge. Beat the Mustang in the quarter mile and restore GM's pride after the Iroc-Z humiliation. Mission accomplished, then canceled after 1 year when the redesigned 1997 Camaro arrived. So who won? The car that was 0.3 faster but disappeared after 1996? Or the car that sold 10,000 units, launched a new generation of modular Mustangs, and kept evolving for the next 2 decades? Different philosophies, different missions, same horsepower on paper, different honesty about what was under the hood. The Camaro SS was old-school American muscle getting one last shot at glory before the world changed. The Mustang Cobra was the future. High-tech, sophisticated, and sustainable. The 1996 muscle car battle wasn't about horsepower. It was about philosophy. GM wanted revenge for the Iroc-Z. Ford wanted evolution beyond the 5.0. Both got what they wanted, but only one built a legacy that lasted. If you want more stories about muscle car rivalries, corporate revenge, and the battles that defined American performance, subscribe. We've got 70 more years of automotive warfare to cover. And if you're wondering which car I'd take, the one that doesn't play games with its horsepower ratings, but that's a debate for the comments section. This is Car Chronicles, where the truth is faster than the lies.